The story of Guilty Gear is notoriously dense, spanning 2 decades with lore in books, audio dramas, and confusingly named sequels. Even a calendar has lore inside of it. But beneath the initial confusion lies one of the most unique, deeply character-driven, and emotional stories any series can provide. That's why we, at Made in Backyard, have made you this video, so you can take that first step and finally get to understand who your favorite goober is. Now, let's rock! Okay, first things first, let's talk about where not to start. The obscure spin-offs. Unless you're already deeply invested, these will just create more unnecessary confusion. You do not need to play the Japanese exclusive WonderSwan color games to learn the story. Wooly vs. Heaven or Hell series. This is the controversial one because while it's very much in-depth, covering every corner of the series, the storytelling is removed by its format as a series summary. The series also has issues stemming from over-reliance on older fan translations of poor quality, so I will say it again. This series is a very solid summary of events, but it will never be a proper substitute for the actual story. To avoid getting overwhelmed, here are a few rules to keep in mind when tackling Guilty Gear lore. Number 1. Focus on the playable cast. Outside of the villains, remember to start by focusing on the playable cast. Understand their motivations and relationships first, but don't focus on Bridget's random uncle. Number 2. The backyard. Don't overthink its mechanics, just know that the backyard is an explanation for a lot of complex stuff, but just don't worry about it. For now, just pick up what you can and study it later. Number 3. Don't worry about every single detail initially, cause trust us, you will not remember everything. For absolute beginners, the first game should be your only start. While this should be obvious with any series, a lot of people want to jump into the stories of the game they already own. So, why not start with Strive? Well, see this logo? Yeah, no one starts a show with the final season, so why would you do that with a video game? I mentioned this also because people want answers to questions about a story quickly revealed, but Guilty Gear is a series that is built on multiple mysteries from the very beginning, so just trust the process and let the games answer your questions naturally over the course of the whole series. But back to the topic. While the game is available on Steam, Switch, and PS4, you don't actually have to play the first Guilty Gear. Here's the thing, this game lacks storytelling through gameplay. All of the story comes from the dialogue and cutscenes. So you will be getting the same storytelling without the fights in between, so just watch a compilation. An important reminder for this is that the next couple of games is that you need to read the manuals. These contain the character backstories and the setup for the game's plot. Reminder that everything will have links in the description. After you've started with Guilty Gear The Missing Link, you move on to the 3 arcade titles, Guilty Gear X, Guilty Gear XX, and Guilty Gear XX Accent Core, or more specifically with the first and the last, their expanded plus home releases. While they might appear like just versions of the same game, they are different story-wise. Now unfortunately for you, all 3 of these games also feature a story mode that is a bit more complicated. Every character has multiple paths that they can take, which changes what fights you will have and what ending you will get. The core issue with this format, however, is that for new fans, not all of the endings are canon. Due to the unclear canonical status of some story paths, you do kind of have to experience everything these 3 games have to offer, and later on piece together the canon for yourself, as some endings such as Dizzy dying and Testament's arms remains unclear, but other endings are a lot more open-ended. Important to mention that X Plus lacks an English release, but it has a fan translation by Ed Cheng. Returning to a simpler story, we have Guilty Gear 2 Overture. This game has a pretty standard playable campaign which serves as a tutorial for its unique MOBA/action hybrid gameplay. The game itself is plenty fun, so buying it through Steam would be ideal. This is also where a lot of details on the backyard come into play for the first time. Like I mentioned before, don't worry if you can't understand it all at first, just focus on the story for now. Now, what comes next is really important. The Guilty Gear 2 Material Collection art book features short stories focused on every member of the main cast. These provide a lot of important context to the whole series, so reading them right after finishing the story of Guilty Gear 2 is ideal. So, moving on, because we do have a lot to go through. First off, Excerpt has two story modes, Excerpt Signed Story and Excerpt Revelator Story, which serves as a part 1 and part 2 of a single bigger story. Second, it's very important to note that the signed arcade modes happen before the story actually happens, and while they are not mandatory, it does explain some stuff that the main story does not. Then, between Sign and Revelator is the Revelator Episode mode, which is very much mandatory to see. It is best to just watch them all on YouTube as the story modes are purely cutscenes. However, the arcade and episode modes do offer some cool elements, such as slightly different versions of characters that you do fight here. So it is preferred if you play them, but it's not the end of the world if you watch them all on YouTube. Third, the Rev 2 update to Revelator added 3 epilogues to the Excerpt story. These are also purely cutscenes and are necessary to understand how this story transitions into Strive. Please read this book, because it is very necessary for the eventual payoff with Strive story. This book is a prequel to the whole series, but spoils some pretty big reveals from Excerpt, so this would be the time when you should read it. The English translation is done by Soul Rad Guy, so we recommend you go pick it up. Finally, we have arrived at Strive. The arcade modes happen after the main story and the Another Story Departure DLC. You can watch all these on YouTube, especially the arcade modes, as they suck to complete normally. Next is Guilty Gear Strive Dual Rulers, the anime following the events after Strive. This show is arguably the weakest part of the series and is overall a fairly minor footnote for the story as a whole. However, it is still a part of the series and important to the character of Unica, so it is included. Be aware that it takes after some, but not all of the Strive's arcade modes, so it can be a bit confusing. Don't worry, if you miss something or not everything clicks just yet, this story is told over the course of 20 plus years, so you will forget stuff. Now, you can also explore and find the spin-off material that interests you, because there is always more Guilty Gear to enjoy. Some suggestions to check out after the main story are Guilty Gear Series Story Digest Comics. Now, this comic was skipped over earlier as it does spoil some mysteries that were revealed way too early compared to the games itself, so it is a bit inferior. Not to mention, due to the limited length of the series, a lot of details from the games had to be shortened or just cut out entirely, so not very cleanly done. After only you've consumed everything, you can go ahead and read this as a well drawn out visual dessert. The Guilty Gear Wiki. Go balls deep into the wiki, learning the most obscure of topics. GG World, featured in Excerpt and Strive, serves as an in-game wiki, which is also useful. Just remember that all of these exist to supplement your understanding, not to initiate it. So, story is not a wiki page or a bullet point fact. Now, while the story of Soul Bad Guy ended with Strive, it is far from the end, as the recently announced Strive 2.0 update shows just how much life there is left in the world of Guilty Gear. Only time can tell what direction the series will go into. Now, here is a visual guide you can screenshot and follow later. So, take your time, and maybe, just maybe, you too will see Daisuke's vision.